Let y'all know. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to number 2, the deer hunt. Resolution regarding rules.
Move to discuss deer hunt.
Second?
Second.
Made and seconded. All right. Let me just open up by saying I reread the Arkansas Game and Fish rules online, and I know that there would have been some discussion last council meeting about making this a longbow hunt. I went back and reread the archery portion of this. It says legal hunting equipment, and I just want to let y'all know this so we can be upfront about it. Archery is defined as long, recurve, and compound bows with at least a 40-pound pull, scopes, string locks, and mechanical releases may be used. Deer, turkey, and bear hunters, which is kind of, just say deer hunters. Arrowheads at least 7/8 of an inch wide. Mechanical is okay. Poison may not be used. Archery also includes crossbows, which have at least a 125-pound pull and a mechanical safety. Same applies. 7/8 inch wide bolt. Poison may not be used. Scopes may be used. So I think the statute or the ordinance that was passed says bow and arrow. So if you're going to, it's not real definitive on what you're going to let them use. Mr. Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to pass out a copy of the Urban Archery Deer Season Orientation form. This is what's going to be going down at Heber Springs for their urban hunt, also similar to the one in outside of Hot Springs and another place too. What I am proposing that this, and when we talk about people looking at the game and fish, I forgot what the word was, it's supervising. They don't really supervise as much as the requirements here. The requirements is what I'm proposing, and we can use and we can define whatever type of bows we want. And in this case, the urban archery deer season, if you'll notice, hunters are required to take and pass the International Bow Hunters Education course, attend an urban hunt orientation, pass a shooting proficiency test, 3 consecutive arrows shot from a legal hunting bow held at full draw by only the archer's muscles, and goes on. And then it goes on down to not only it says possess a valid urban bow hunting permit, use a longbow, recurve, or compound bow. This says nothing about a crossbow. So we have that option, obviously, according to what they have used in other cities, in Heber Springs and these other places. Possess written permission from the property owners if hunting on properties, and it goes on down into here. I have been talking with Dick Baxter and Brad Miller, who's the head of the Game and Fish the deer section. He's the one that put these urban deer seasons together, and this is what he had recommended that we do. We probably do not have time. They're still going to be holding a orientation in Calico Rock. Now this is the 2010, August 21st, but I think there's actually one in August, I want to say August 20th of 2011. But what Mr. Miller had suggested was that any members, and we just go ahead and have a list and get a list from the Arkansas Bow Hunters Association, that they have their certification, that they've attended these classes, and that they are a member of the Arkansas Bow Hunters Association and have passed these courses before we even issue a permit for them to participate in the urban hunt. We can set our own guidelines according to the Game and Fish as to what we want, how long we want, and where we want. And we've talked about we've got property owners who said that they would use their property to hunt on. Now, obviously, most people, unfortunately, a lot of people are afraid, and I hear this all the time. that I'm going to have to go out of town and I'm closing my windows and I'm afraid of what's going to happen. But it seems like that people tend to forget that we had a hunting season, allowed a hunting season inside the city limits up until 1996. And that was actually with archery and rifle. And most people in the town up in that time were bow hunters. There was a lot of deer that was killed inside the city limits, and people aren't aware of that because there was never any accidents, and there wasn't anything ever publicized. I'm sure if people knew about it, they would have gotten all upset and scared, but until actually what happened was one of the city council members ended up with a dead deer in their backyard, and that's what instigated the ordinance to prevent hunting inside the city limits. So anyway, this is what I would recommend that we go ahead and look at as establishing regulations if the city council is this going along with this way. I've also been told too that they can take up to 4 does with a maximum of 2 bucks or 4 does, 4 deer maximum. And I was also told too that by both these people at the Game and Fish that a one-day hunt is not going to do anything really. I mean, you're going to have, and actually a 5-day was just a start, and he says it's just a good start to helping solve the deer problem. So that's kind of the report that I've come up with at this point.
Okay. Mr.
Do we have time? Do we have time to put out a list like this that have the requirements when you register to vote?
Well,
will you have to register to vote? I mean,
I think if we want to. Also, Mr. Mayor, too, I heard one of the comments, and again, somebody called me too. I don't know where they got the rumor that we're having this over the Christmas parade. That's on a Saturday, I think. We were doing the bow hunt Monday through Friday. Mm-hmm. Nothing to do with, and I'm not sure where the Saturday.
That just came to my attention today.
I mean, somebody said that, and there's not going to be a Christmas parade on the Friday. So, is it? Is it Christmas parade Friday?
Normally in the midweek.
Well, we can always stop it before that. I mean, we did vote the 5 days, but we can always amend that too. Yeah. So that's a concern.
Mr. Palo, you had a question?
I have, again, I just came across something that somebody said that they get tired of hearing, well, I got so many calls. Well, I have gotten so many calls, and I do appreciate my other Ward 1 alderman, who unfortunately is not here tonight's comment about people calling before the meetings instead of afterwards. It sure made an effect. I sure got a lot of calls that I usually don't get before the meeting instead of after. One of the things I was under the assumption, and I had brought up this, what our alderman from Ward 2 is just read off of, I had brought this up once before and was told basically as long as somebody had a license, they could go to Walmart and buy, or any store and buy a bow and arrow and sign up at City Hall. As long as they had a license, they could go hunting. One of the things that has been brought to my attention, and until I saw this for and against again, I thought the original concept was, and it may be in the Arkansas Game and Fish, which may be why it's not in the for part of the voting for or against, was that it was originally going to be only on public city-owned property. Then it changed to where we were going, because there was such little city property that was huntable, that we changed it to add private property. Some people are concerned that that was an add-on after they voted, based on the fact that they thought it was going to be under the supervision of Arkansas Game and Fish, and also that it was going to be only on city-owned property. One of the other concerns, and it's kind of like whenever you have a public hearing, someone mentioned, and I really started thinking about it, and it's a good valid concern. If people have signed up to allow hunters, and hopefully they will be qualified, and hopefully we can adopt something as was recommended for the being a bow hunter association member because of the liability insurance, the training, the expertise, knowing the rules. If someone has signed up for allowing a hunt, whether it's 1 day or 5 days, on their property, I want to make sure that we've got something where we notify property owners within so many either lots or distance or whatever, because I'll give an example. I have an empty house where the owners do not live in town right now, and next to them is an empty lot. For all I know, they could have signed up because they aren't there or don't care that deer hunters can be on their property. And if I don't know about it, the way some deer hunters or some hunters are, I could see pulling an arrow out of my Great Pyrenees or my little blonde lab or whatever, or anybody else's for that matter. So I would encourage, I'd like to see us cancel it altogether, but I would encourage, if we go forward with this, that we ensure not only are the hunters screened and following Arkansas Game and Fish excuse me, Commission rules, but I'd like to make certain that we have some kind of coverage that requires the property owners that have signed up somehow notifying property owners within a reasonable, on each side or whatever, that there's going to be the potential of somebody hunting on their property for 1 or 5 days, whatever the case might be.
Any further? Mr. Weaver.
If you take it upon yourselves to issue a permit, I would caution the council that you may want to inquire as to whether you may be waiving your tort immunity for the city by issuing a license to particular individuals. I don't know the actual answer to that, but I suspect the argument can very well be made that by licensing particular individuals and requiring certain qualifications of them, should they have an accident, the city may be held in an action. Because what you're looking at here is being promulgated not by the cities themselves, but by the Arkansas Game and Fish. And if you take it upon yourself to place yourself in or to place the city in the position where Arkansas Game and Fish is currently at with this, you may be assuming liability.
Mr. Palo.
Since I was being looked at as he said that, I didn't mean to say, if I did, that the city is going to be issuing the license. I believe that past comments have been that they're still required to get an Arkansas hunting license, and that they will be required to sign up at City Hall to let everybody know that they're out there. But I think that there's enough. I think we need to look for another avenue of controlling the deer population. All the vote was is the city saying, yes, you can do it if you decide you want to have one. And I think there's enough people now that are concerned that didn't think when they voted that they might have voted a different way. I don't want to second guess them, but I think there's just enough ambiguity in everything right now that we maybe need to sit back and relook the whole issue.
I was just reading through this, and it also says that you have to shoot from blind. It has to be at least 10 foot above the ground, 50 yards away from a trailer or park, and 50 yards away from an occupied dwelling without written permission. So there'll be no ground hunters unless you're tracking them to recover. Everybody's got to be in the stand according to these regulations here. So.
And also 50 yards, 150 feet from any dwelling,
Yeah.
occupied dwelling.
Yeah, that's one of
Most bows are about 50-foot range.
Anybody else? Mr. Raphael, do you have a question? I thought I seen your hand up a while ago.
I have a lot of questions about it. I feel at this point that we should just postpone the whole thing. You know, there's so many questions, and now in the last couple of days, it's nothing but phone calls, and people are
Let's-
I think they had the impression that Game and Fish was going to come up here with bows and do the hunting themselves.
Any further?
But there's just so many questions to it that if there's any way we could.
Mr. Mayor, Game and Fish never provides the hunts. That's a misconception all the way around. They never do the hunts. This is always by, when they say professional hunters, I'm not sure what that is, because unless no city that I'm aware of in the state of Arkansas hires people to go out and kill the deer, that would be a professional hunter. These are licensed hunters who the Game and Fish seem to be very, positive about their shooting proficiency, being able to pass this test on there. It's up to this council. The voters, I think, we're second guessing. I guess anytime we have a regulations and rules or a vote by the people, and then we get enough phone calls, we can always say, well, maybe we should have this re-voted or not do it again. I don't know the question or the answer to that.
Okay.
I do know that the people did pass this allowing for a deer hunt because they felt like we had too many deer in our city, and we have too many deer because we stopped hunting deer. We stopped allowing deer being harvested from the city limits, and that created our problem. And until we do that, and I had some emails from people talking about setting up traps, and I don't know about you, I can't imagine trying to trap a deer and then trying to get a deer out of a trap. It does not sound like
It's
a
like
lot of
getting one in
fun.
the car and trying to get it out.
We had council
Hotel
members,
room, yeah.
I don't remember, 6 councils ago, who even talked about shooting deer with tranquilizers, shooting deer with birth control pills. We've had a lot of different suggestions come up, and the Game and Fish seem to recommend the only way is an urban hunt. Again, it's up to the council,
There you go.
What I would like to do, I'm so mad at some of the deer that come into my yard, I just soon shoot them. And I'd like to, if not have an urban hunt, at least have the right to be able to kill any deer that comes on my property.
Okay,
So,
anybody else?
that's it.
Mr. Palo.
Looking at the agenda, apparently we were going to have a rules resolution. Is that a correct statement? It says deer hunt resolution
That's what it
regarding
says.
rules.
But I'm not seeing one because nobody can agree on what.
This is what I was proposing as rules.
Yeah.
At least to start.
I think. Go ahead, sir.
I would make a motion, and I would hope that the constituents who have expressed concern to whomever or haven't expressed a concern but just plan on leaving town or could care less, I would recommend that we write a resolution that would incorporate the requirements that are in the, and I think it's probably just changing the dates and where the location is, but there are some very good hunters are required to in this handout that my learned colleague to my right has passed out, and I would seriously consider putting those into the resolution and re-looking at clarifying one time. I don't know. You could go either way on that one as far as 1 day or 5 days, as long as they're consecutive. But I think we really need to look at a real good resolution that incorporates these Arkansas Game and Fish guidelines. And I don't know of too many people that have really thought that the Arkansas Game and Fish was going to come up here and do the hunting. But I sure don't want somebody that, matter of fact, I had someone that called me and said that their spouse's approach to hunting is, let's go buy a case of beer and go out to the cabin, and well, if that's going to happen in town, God help us all.
Okay.
I would make a motion that a resolution be prepared to incorporate Arkansas Game and Fish Commission requirements that they require based on this handout, And if we can't do that, then we cancel the hunt. Is that too?
Okay. Let me just read, Ms. Clerk brought this up to me on our last meeting, discussing the deer hunt. Mr. Pownall suggested writing a resolution clarifying specific rules and seconded Mr. Berry's motion for the one-time hunt for those dates of 28th through December 2nd. So I think you've already made that motion.
So you brought the rules,
Beg your pardon?
and so you followed through, and you brought the rules to this meeting.
The only thing we need to do now is determine who's writing the resolution, apparently.
That would be Mr. Weaver.
If you so direct, I have one question for you so that we can come back with a resolution that
Thank you for showing
is
us.
workable. I understood Mr. Berry to say that this hunter instruction course and proficiency testing is set for only a few days from now.
Actually,
Or have the hunters already passed it? They have to, it's like taking your law license. You only have to take the exam once, although you do have to keep up your continuing ed nowadays, but theoretically you only need to pass that test.
yeah, the date on here is
And we
set for
can
August
say-
21st, 2010.
We can set that they passed it within the last year if we're comfortable with that one.
Good.
I'm assuming that there's one for 2011 the same date.
In August, I think in August 22nd, I think. I'm not sure of the exact date, in Calico Rock.
Okay, Mr. Pano.
4 days doesn't really give us a whole lot of time. I think if there's another one that would fall within the time frame that would still allow, this is August, I don't know with the way the weather has been, if we're going to have an early fall, if we could find out if there are other.
There's not.
no
There's only
times.
one time a year.
Yeah, you'll have to tweak also, it says in the second paragraph, just under the space where you fill out your information, season is open September the 6th through November the 12th, 2010, and January the 1st through the 31st of 2011. So that'll have to be changed if you adopt these to whatever date you wish to set. That's
Motion on the floor. Did I
Up to
make
you.
a motion? I withdraw my motion.
okay. Well, there's no motion on the floor for a resolution. Okay.
I withdraw it.
Okay. Mr. Pennell.
I make a motion that we cancel the 2011 proposed deer hunt and have the city attorney draft up a resolution that would allow us to schedule it properly with the requirements to be met for next year's hunt.
I'll second that.
Made and seconded. Any further discussion? No further. Mr. Bear.
Yeah, I guess just wondered, trying to understand Mr. Pownall's reasoning on this. Is that because of the taking the proficiency exam?
Yes.
I just think there's too much concern that, and with all due respect, and I don't mean any disrespect, the mayor was quoted in the local media somewhere that basically that anybody could go buy a bow and arrow and get a hunting license and sign up at City Hall and go hunting during that hunt, and I just think that is very
That's
dangerous.
unless you adopt these. Unless you adopt these, anybody can go get a hunting license.
That's the reason for my motion.
It's my understanding of it, unless Mr. Berry has a different. I'm not a hunter, but that's my understanding reading through these codes here.
I tend to agree, and that's the reason when we developed this, we talked about at the last meeting, was so we could come up with these regulations to make sure that we would have a safe hunt and would hopefully allay some fears of people in through here. And I really enjoy, think that what the Game and Fish has come up with is an excellent safety suggestions and regulations. And so I was curious, I mean, what, with Mr. Pownall, if the council wants to postpone this for a year, it's only going to get, we can do that. There won't be anything different outside of allowing, finding out when the next the shooting proficiency test at, and the International Bow Hunters Education course, which is in Calico Rock, which will be a year from August. That will be the only difference.
How far is Calico Rock to the side of Mountain Home?
Calico Rock from here is 3, 4, 4.5, 5 hours.
5.5 hours, okay. Mr. Palo?
I'm not as concerned about all of the little I-dotting and T-crossing of the particular proficiency. I just wish there was some way that we could ensure that we do have properly trained hunters, and if what Mr. Berry has brought up, that if these proficiency training certificates are good, then maybe those that present them could go ahead and hunt under these rules, and if they don't, we don't let them hunt. I just don't want to see somebody that decides that they want to play Robin Hood out in the backyard shooting deer and missing them or wounding them, and off they go, and then we have to call the animal control officer and ask him to come up and pick up all the wounded deer in town.
Well, I might make a suggestion, and this is just out to the council. Let me get back in touch with Game and Fish and see if they can have a school closer here for this, so everybody doesn't have to drive 5.5 hours. They're not necessarily going to come up and supervise the hunt, but they'll at least give the class, because this form is an orientation reservation form to get you in the class. Mr. Berry, go ahead.
If I'm not mistaken, they don't even put on the course. It's the International Bow Hunters that do this. And and from what I'm understanding from the Game and Fish, these are, when you go through these courses, you come out being proficient. These are not your redneck, sit on your porch, drinking beer, shooting deer, or shooting anything that walks by. And it's kind of an insult to all hunters to think that they're out grabbing a six-pack and shooting anything that goes by. The people that I go hunting with do not even allow alcohol at their camp. I mean, you just don't mix guns and alcohol, and hunting and alcohol. So okay. I don't know where that's neither here nor there. This is a profession. These are serious people who take their what they're doing very serious. So okay. It's up to the council. I'd make a recommendation that we go ahead and proceed based. I'd make a motion that our city attorney prepare a resolution based on this form as regulations for us for this year.
Yeah, I think Mr. Pownall had a motion on the table to start with.
Can I add to your
Didn't get
suggestion?
a second, I don't think.
Yeah, I did.
I'm sorry.
We were in discussion.
Yes, sir.
You came up with a proposal that I'd like to carry maybe a different direction, which was good. Maybe we could contact a member of the Arkansas Bow Hunters Association that might be willing for we pay the gas, or whatever we can, or even come up and volunteer if they're that dedicated, for some type of a training class that would help us a lot overcome some of the fears that the citizens have of just having anybody that decides that they want to pull a bow out of their trunk and go hunt. I think that would be and if we can't, then we'll go from there.
Okay. Is that amended from your original one, or did we draw that one and make this?
For information, can you read the motion?
Cancel the 2011 proposed deer hunt and have the city attorney draw up a resolution. based on the game and fish
I think you withdrew that.
regs.
I withdrew that one because canceling it and drawing up a resolution
You
is.
withdrew that one.
That was the last one.
I withdraw anything that was on the table and recommend that we check first with the Arkansas Bowhunters Association to see if they have anyone that they could possibly recommend or would be willing to come up and help us meet the requirements of this handout Mr. Berry provided and recommended.
Do a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, I'll wait.
So you want to draw up a resolution? Say that again, please.
I recommend that we, and then we in this case it would be administrative issues, so I guess I clarify that with being the mayor's office. Contact the Arkansas Bowhunters Association, see if there is a possibility of getting a representative that they could send up or would be willing to send up for a instruction class.
Mr. Berry, second.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Present.
Okay. We'll go ahead and contact the Bowhunter Association now.
Tom White
Tom White,
is the president of the Arkansas Bowhunters Association.
is he local?
870-367-5325.
Did we have a fourth vote on that?
I voted yes. To contact the
When you
Bowhunters.
do that, would you please say so we'll know?
I said yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'll make a point to contact him next week. All right. Any further on this? Since it's, I don't know.
To hopefully reduce the rash of after-meeting phone calls, I want to make certain that we're following and everyone understands we're following Arkansas Game and Fish guidelines to the nth degree based on the way they thought they were voting, and that this is not a done deal even if the Arkansas Bowhunters Association is willing to bring somebody up. I think we still have to pass a reasonable resolution.
Any further? All right. Then we'll move on to number 3 under unfinished. Dog control update.
Motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss. Second.
Second.
Go ahead.
Well, waiting to have another workshop. I've been talking with the animal control officer, and again, as mentioned last meeting, it gets down to enforcement, and right now there's enough issues that the workshop needs to address that he wants to ensure that he's there, so I'm trying to work a schedule that we can do it, and I'd like to, if it's, I don't know how it's normally done, but I'd like to be able to have the approval of the table to go ahead and set that meeting whenever I can coordinate the schedule with him, and then just let the city clerk know to inform council of when the workshop is. Is that
works.
amenable?
Is that a motion?
I think it needs to be a motion. I'm just asking if anybody has a problem with it. If they do, I'll make it a
Any
motion.
further discussion? Okay. You want to make it a motion? I believe Mr. Raphael will probably second it.
Okay, I'll make a motion that I be allowed to set the workshop date, notify the city clerk treasurer of the date to inform the other council members if they desire to attend. And
Second.
notify the press.
Made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. All right. Number 4 is postponed. Number 5 is postponed. Number 6, update for alcohol beverage tax, CAPC right to collect. Mr. Weaver and Madam Clerk. I'll run with it. Motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
Second.
Floor is open.
We have made some additional inquiries, the clerk and I. The clerk in particular has sent a couple of emails to the Municipal League asking for some clarification We finally received a response from Mr. Schoen. I think her and I both received similar responses that he wants additional information before he can help us clarify the situation. So I'm hoping that in the next day or so, both her and I can help provide Mr. Schoen with what he's looking for so that he can help us make a rational decision on what exactly to inform you of. You still have the issues before you of collection of past tax, but we're particularly talking to Mr. Schoen, or trying to communicate with Mr. Schoen in regard to CAPC tax issues, but also in the general about all issues, but particularly the CAPC. Apparently he had been on vacation for a while and then had been trying to play catch up.
Any further? Okay, Mr. Pano.
Just a point of clarification for the record. Apparently this is something that became an oversight long before we sat down at the table, any of the 8 of us actually. Where does this responsibility for the record lie as far as in the future for ensuring taxes collected? And I see we've added CAPC behind that. Is it a finance, by code finance responsibility, or city clerk treasurer responsibility, or CAPC, or?
There is a reporting responsibility and payment to the city through notification to the clerk, and also payment to the finance department. So it is a joint and shared, depending on how you're looking at the issue. And that is as to the tax itself. As to the CAPC tax, that is also involves their collection efforts. And so we'll be able to answer that portion more clearly once we get some clarification, I believe, from Mr. Shaw.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to number 8, which has been postponed. Number 9 is open. Dates for council goals workshop with Chief Hyatt weighing in on police hiring. Ms. Ballance and Mr.
Second.
Move to dismiss. Made and seconded. Oh, discuss. I'm sorry. I didn't get to finish reading and it was already talking. All right. Made and seconded. Go ahead. Discuss.
September 26th. Well, this is pretty self-explanatory, I would think. Date for Council Cole's workshop. Of course, if Chief Hyatt, well, I guess we can set it, and he can be here if he wants to be. Do you have a date does anybody have a date in mind?
Excuse me.
Mr. Pownall, go ahead.
For an update, and I don't think that anything has changed since we talked about it at the last meeting, other than it was added that the chief also attend, which I don't have a problem with. And I think that was partially because we had some other issues on the table that we wanted the chief there. For the record, we do have a list of proposed goals for the council. Numerous, which I was really happy to see all the sticky notes that people came up with good ideas. There wasn't a single stupid one. There was a couple of silly ones, but still, if they're concerned, they're concerned. Those will be put into working paper format, which means, as far as my interpretation is, once I get them typed up, be allowed to give them to the city clerk to forward to the council. Is that appropriate as working papers, not subject to FOIA?
Well, anything you place with a clerk is going to be subject to FOIA. Whether she can distribute those would be to whether they take a position on an issue that will be voted.
They aren't taking an issue. It's just a list of the ones that we came up with. There's not a priority list, an approved list. It's just providing a typed copy without putting it on the bulletin board at the local grocery store or something like that. It says, here's the proposed workshop goals. I just want to make sure that we're covered in doing it properly without
Berry.
having to wait until the next workshop meeting to get it to them.
Mr. Berry, you had your hand.
Was that a date, September 26th?
I was just throwing a date out there.
Well, I mean,
September
we do
26th.
have, I think, Planning Commission is on that date.
Is it?
Is it on a Monday?
What day is
Is
that?
it on, it's a Monday.
So we're on the
The
18th.
planning commission is second and
August.
Is when?
Tuesday.
They're on
They're on
the
Tuesday?
we are.
No, they had to change. They
What?
changed their dates.
What evenings would this? What
Same
evenings
dates
are
on
best
Monday?
for me? What evenings would this room be available?
Ooh,
Don
I
looks
don't
after.
know. Have to check with the
Nathan?
county and see. Mr. Pano?
Excuse
Well,
me.
can we make it at 4 o'clock?
That presents a hardship for me. I work evenings.
How about 5?
6 would be good.
Might be,
At 6, I still have to take several hours off my day and make them up later. So
Same during the day would be better.
I could do like a 10 o'clock in the morning.
I'd just like to propose that it be something after Labor Day weekend, because after Sunday I'm going to be totally out of pocket until right before the weekend, and I would like, myself too, I would like to see it before dark 30.
Miss Ballance said it's 26th.
I was just throwing out a date.
Well,
I don't even have
I
a
mean,
calendar in
that's
front of
a
me.
start. That's
I don't know if it was
28th.
the 26th of September or not.
Earlier would be better. That, as a matter of fact, that's one of my son's birthday, and I probably better be free on that day.
All right, September the 12th.
September 12th. And
10
what day
o'clock?
is that?
We have
What
That's a
day is
Monday.
that?
a meeting on the
I'd like to keep it to an hour.
I'm cool with that.
Well, let's make it at
Do
11
we have
o'clock to
anything on
lunch.
12th?
Okay.
How about on the 15th of September?
Mondays are good for you, right?
Mondays are good.
I just saying, let's
Time?
do it
9
Monday,
o'clock?
Monday at 11 o'clock, September 12th.
11 o'clock?
11
Everybody good
o'clock.
with 11 o'clock?
Yeah.
11 a.m. on Monday,
Jury room.
September 10th. Yes.
12th.
September 12th
11 a.m.
in the jury room.
Okay.
Who's going to notify the chief?
I will.
Okay.
I will.
Okay.
I will have the list typed up, and they will be in the boxes. That way, we won't have any FOIA problems. Right?
I would suggest that if you're basically treating it as an agenda, that you probably want to treat it just like you would a normal agenda.
I think it's kind of a workshop.
It's not an agenda. It's a list of goals that we have drafted.
We're not planning on
proposed.
voting on anything.
We aren't voting on anything. We're just going to take those and then discuss them and go from there. We may end up having a meeting later to vote the priority or something like that. But the first go around is just wanting to legally get a copy of all 637 goals for council. No, I'm just kidding. The goals to council before the meeting on the 12th without putting ourselves in a criticizable position that we're violating FOIA.
Yeah,
I
workshop.
think you should treat it much more like an agenda then, instead of a secret document.
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Whatever it takes.
I just don't want anybody, that ends up with a copy of the proposed goals to realize it was a workshop, throw a dart at the thing and say, this is a goal that I'd like to see discussed, and it may even come off the list, so I don't have a problem either.
Ms. Bell?
As far as the chief, I have absolutely no problem with him being there. In fact, I would welcome his input. But I would like us to remember when we're talking about that what we're talking about is state statute. We're talking about state statute that needs to be followed. And I think we just need to remember we're talking about state statute. We're not talking about excuses or reasons or anything like that. We need to be talking about what this city needs to be doing to follow the state laws. So I just want to make that very clear that that's what we should be talking about.
And that was the attempt of the workshop goal setting, was to, even the concerns brought forth at the workshop for dogs that we're able to set goals that are reasonable, and if they aren't reasonable within the purview of the police department, whether it's enforcement or storage of animals or whatever the case might be, that's why we're asking for him to be there, because there's been several items delayed off of the agenda because we decided to put it on this workshop issue for goals and those problems. So I welcome his attendance.
Any further? All right, same different the 12th at 11 o'clock, jury room. Council goes police hiring workshop. Is that correct? Any further? Not, move on to number 10, be the Walmart update.
To discuss.
Second?
Second.
Made second? Okay. I have not had any contact with anyone from Walmart themselves, but I do have contact from our Chamber of Commerce and from the mayors of each of the cities that the Walmart Expresses are now open and operating. I'd like to read into record the Chamber of Commerce letter from Interim Director Mike Bishop with the council's permission.
Move to allow the mayor to read into the record the letter from the chamber.
Second? Second. All right. Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the Greater Eureka Springs Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, I wish to share some thoughts regarding the proposed Walmart Express project. As with any Chamber of Commerce and is stated in our mission statement, one of our duties is to foster the business and cultural growth of the community. While our information with this project has been limited, we believe there are many positives created that will benefit the citizens of Eureka Springs. First, the tax dollars generated through daily sales to local residences and visitors that currently travel to the closest Walmart location in Berryville, along with city property taxes, will be substantial. Second, the addition of the sewer lines at an estimated cost of $100,000 that will be paid for by the developer and later given to the city, extended service to property owners, and create additional revenue for the city is very generous. Third, it is reasonable to believe that additional year-round jobs will be created. And last, I will mention that this company is well known for its participation with and contributions to nonprofits, charities, community foundations, and more. Of course, we expect you, our City Council, and the appropriate commissions to make sure all city codes and regulations are followed as to protect the scenic beauty and integrity of our city. The last thing we want to see is for our long-standing local businesses to be adversely affected. It is our belief that local customers are loyal and will continue to patronize our hometown stores. As a chamber, we will continue to work for all of our members and for the common good of the city of Eureka Springs. It is our thought that the city will gain consumers currently traveling to the Berryville Walmart location. If we are to grow business in Eureka Springs, we will have the accommodating, let me back that up, my mouth's getting dry. If we are to grow business in Eureka Springs, we have to be accommodating to companies interested and willing to invest in our city. Personally, I think we should feel honored that a national brand such as Walmart has chosen Eureka Springs. We should look for the positives, embrace the opportunity, and take steps forward towards progress. Signed, Mike Bishop, Interim Director, Chamber of Commerce. I believe you all have copies of this one. Is that correct? Okay. If you want me to expound on the mayor's comments from Prairie Grove, Gentry, and Gravett, I'd be more than happy to.
I'd like to see copies, but I don't think we need to.
We'll make copies available. One of the mayors is actually still in Texas, I believe, and he sent me an email saying he would write out his statement whenever he got back. But I'll make these available to you. Okay? That is the update that I know about. Planning Commission, I believe, meets on the 23rd for a tree cut hearing. That is all I know about. Okay. Mr. Pownall.
I would.
Thank you.
I don't want to get into making motions on this since it was an update, but I'd just like to go on record that until such time that as we told the gentleman 2 weeks ago, until the proper process is followed and the order is followed as far as bringing this through. I feel very uncomfortable even discussing Walmart at this table. And for a point of clarification, sometimes it gets confused that the Planning Commission is the one that has total control over the trees and everything else. For the record, it's the Board of Zoning Adjustments that's going to be holding the public hearing to determine if the 118 trees or whatever it is are to be cut. The only thing that I would like to add to this whole issue is let's let the proper process happen before we get our shorts in a knot.
I don't think we're ahead of ourselves. This is just an update on what.
No, I'm not referring to your update. I'm
Okay.
referring to the.
You're talking general
Business
public
natives.
then, okay. Any further?
I'm going to take a 10-minute recess.
Motion to take a 10-minute recess.
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
10 minutes. We'll be back in order from recess. We have one item left under unfinished business, which is number 11, discussion of parks ordinance. Mr. Raphael, Ms. Ballance, and Dr. Kirkpatrick.
Motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss, second.
Second.
Made and seconded. Discussion's open. Take off.
If no,
Point, I don't have anything to discuss about it. I would move to postpone it indefinitely unless someone else has something they want to discuss.
Motion on the table. Postpone indefinitely.
Second.
Or discussion?
I'm just uncomfortable with the indefinite.
me too. I would,
We'll have to vote on it. Yeah.
with Mr. Raphael's approval, I would amend that motion to postpone this until our next meeting.
No.
Okay?
Is that yes or no?
No.
Okay.
I would amend to postpone this until 2 meetings from now.